My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Welcome back, folks. Today, zooming in from Cleveland, Ohio, we have actually a Canadian real estate investor, Araceli Hernandez, who has been investing in real estate for quite some time now. Got into it after she got divorced and wanted to replace the lost income from her divorce. And she started as a Canadian investing in the USA. And what she really brings to the table is a very analytical mind. Coming from an engineering background, she is good with the numbers. So today, Araceli Hernandez is going to share with us some of her insights about Canadians investing in the American market. So welcome to the show, Araceli.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. So
My
tell me,
pleasure.
what would you like to know about investing in the US as a Canadian?
Well, first of all, how did you clue into that way back in the day before you had very much
Yeah.
experience in real estate investing in the first place?
Well, the first property that I did was a triplex. I converted a property into a triplex. And the reason was because, like you said, after my divorce, I lost income, my ex-husband's income, and I just wanted to replace that to help me out with my expenses. So I wanted to rent a portion of it and live in the other half of it.
So you just kind of house hacked.
Exactly. I did a
Yeah.
house hack, and then it actually worked way better than I thought, right?
Nice.
But the prices when I started were completely different, at least in Ontario and Hamilton. That's where I bought the property.
Mhm.
So 2 years later, when I wanted to come out and buy another one, the prices just were completely different. And now going back to the analytical part, I said, wait a second, now this is not going to work, because even if I have 3 tenants again, the rents are not going to cover everything.
Mhm.
So that's what it started for me to go and look at other areas. And I just went, obviously, I didn't know anything else. I just knew Canada. So I started in Hamilton, St. Catharines. I went and looked into Niagara and so on. But everything didn't work. Like everything was already overpriced when it comes down to rents covering all your expenses.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, I just made that decision that I was not going to get into something that didn't cash flow positive, even if it was a little bit, but I wanted something that would cash flow positive. And and I attended a lot of real estate meetings and webinars and seminars. And at that point, somebody told me, says, have you ever looked at the US?
Yeah.
And I said, I have no idea about anything about the US, no clue. So this person used to do property management / contracting.
Yeah.
And he said, why don't you just try the Cleveland market and see what you think? You can buy a house for 17,000. I says, no way, right? So I actually went to Cleveland and I bought my first house for 17,000, and then I bought another one for 22,000 from the same person.
Yeah.
But the property manager didn't work out very well. Like his repairs were terrible, having a lot of problems with the tenants because of that reason. So I kind of quickly fired him. And before I quit, a Canadian friend said, well, why don't we just take a look at the market and see if we could do something? So we partnered up and we started buying houses at auction.
Oh, very cool. So what year did you start buying in the States?
2016.
2016. All right. And then you partnered up with somebody, you figured out about buying properties at the auction. So it sounded
Mhm.
like you learned a lot about American real estate investing very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, you know what? When everybody's very scared, as a
Yeah.
Canadian, of course, you don't know it's another country. But what
Plus you hear
happened?
that everybody's going to sue you silly and you're going to lose everything
Exactly,
and all that kind of
exactly,
stuff. Yeah.
right? But we found that there is so much easier to find information about properties. And when you're an investor, you really want to have the information in front of you, because that's how you make the decision. Like, do I buy this house or not? Like, what is it that is behind this property that might not make it a good deal? And we like the transparency. I like the transparency because then you can decide, yes, I don't like this house, or
Yeah,
I
well, you being a numbers focused kind of person, it's kind of nice to have access to everything. There, you're absolutely right. It's so much easier stateside than in
absolutely.
Canada. So give us a snapshot of what your real estate investing portfolio and your real estate investing business looks like today. So, you started in doing stuff in the States in 2016. It's 2024 right now.
Yeah.
What does it look like today, Araceli?
Okay, so when I started, I bought two properties that they were rentals, and I ended up selling them because of the property manager. But right now, I have completed 17 transactions.
Wow,
I
nice.
just got one new duplex that I'm closing next week, and the rest of
Congratulations.
them were flips. But
Uh-huh.
I'm now getting into rentals because the market shifts, so you have to kind of adjust, and that is another kind of thing that I would tell investors. If you do this long enough, you need to adapt to the market, to
Hmm.
the conditions that are there. Interest went up, market changes, and it fluctuates the price. So it's just a matter of adjusting and kind of writing it, right?
So how long have you been doing this for full time, Araceli?
Full time since 2018.
Wow.
So
Okay. So that was fairly quick switching into real estate full time. And you've done 17, you've done mostly flips since that time. Just logistically, a lot of Canadians are concerned about investing in the States about the double taxation challenges. So what do you do to do your flips in the States yet live in Canada and bring because that's very active income. What do you do to bring that into Canada without getting double whacked with taxes?
yeah, correct. So there is uh different thoughts on this. I'm not a lawyer. I just want to make sure that
No,
everybody
but you've
knows
been
that.
doing it, so it must be
Yeah.
working, right? So,
So I'm going to tell you how I do it, but there
sure.
is, I've heard other ways to do it. So the way that my company is set up, I have a corporation that owns my LLCs that do my flips or my rentals. And then I bring that income into my corporation, which it will turn out because I own it personally, that corporation, and none of those entities are recognized in Canada. But because of the treaty, I can just go and do my taxes. It will roll out to my corporation. The corporation pay taxes in the US. Like if you make money, you definitely have to pay
Hey,
taxes, that's
yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
But that income, I will report it in Canada, but they will give me credit for it with my Canadian accountant. So there is really not double taxation. It's just a
Mm.
matter of making sure that you inform both your accountant in the US and your accountant in Canada what you're doing so they know how to process it. So
So basically, you're in Canada, you're a Canadian citizen, you own a corporation in the United States. That American corporation owns the different LLCs,
mhm,
limited liability companies, that have individual properties in each one, if I'm not
correct. Yeah.
mistaken, right? So then those properties, you do a flip, you make your 20, 30, 40,000, whatever it is, net profit, goes from the LLC into the American corporation that you own. You pay whatever the American government, the IRS whacks
Mhm,
you
yeah.
for income taxes. And then you just make sure that then you bring over the rest to Canada, and your accountant does everything that's required so that the
Correct.
government recognizes you already paid taxes on that, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So generally speaking, are you paying a bit more tax on what's on the net that's left over when you bring it to Canada, or is it pretty much all taken care of with the American taxation?
It's pretty much taken care so
Okay.
far with it
Yeah,
in the US. Remember, for people that don't know, it's not only the money that you make, but you also have expenses, right? So
of course.
when you're buying the property, you are, buying all these things that you're putting into the property. Plus, also you have expenses. I travel a lot, so that's an expense. I have had to be somewhere,
Yeah, you're
and
in Cleveland right
eat.
now. You live in Canada,
Exactly.
but you got to, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So all of that would be taken from your profits, and then the rest of it, that's what you have to pay taxes on.
Yeah.
And, it works like anywhere. And I think that, sometimes Canadians get too whole, tied up like, oh, I don't want to do it because I don't know. But if you are making money, be glad that you're paying taxes because you're making money. So
No, I agree. Well, I'm glad to hear. Thank you for sharing that because I've heard so many different ways of doing it, and
yeah,
most of them are way more complicated
yeah.
and convoluted than what you just described. So,
Yeah, so there's different lawyers that I've heard that they want to put it into trust. Some they want to use
yeah,
LPs instead of LLCs. Some corporations. There's many ways to do it. So what I advise people, this is how I set it up. That was personally what I did when I started, but that doesn't necessarily mean is the way that you need to set it up. And there is, depending if you want to have a legacy, if you want to do it, let me take this off. Sorry. Uh, to do what it's going to do for you in the future, right?
yeah,
So that's why it's easy, it's better that you talk to a lawyer or an attorney, maybe cross border, so
yeah,
they know
definitely.
the rules in Canada, because they have to also understand your current situation in Canada, and then see, okay, so if you do this in the US, this is how it's going to affect your Canadian stuff. Maybe you can do it different way. And remember, everybody is set up in a very different way. So that's why.
Well, yeah. And the other thing I've seen is, there are some unscrupulous lawyers down there that will charge tens up to hundreds of thousands of dollars to get Canadians set up properly. That's the other thing that turns so many people off. So, is that necessary, or is it a lot less? Can it be a lot less expensive than people think?
Now, knowing what I know today, I'm
Yeah,
going to tell you, wait, make sure that you actually get linked up with somebody that has done it, whether it's myself or somebody else that is Canadian that has done it already, before you engage anybody that is an attorney across border. Like when I got myself set up, it cost me so much money. And believe me, it doesn't have to cost you that much. So
mhm.
that's what is important for you to get linked up with somebody that is already
That's
doing it,
already done it. Yeah, for sure.
because you can do all the stuff in the US, set it up. You can even do it yourself or very inexpensively with an attorney in the US. I think that the reason that they charge you so much is because there's this cross-border idea, like, oh, I have this
Yeah,
knowledge that you don't have, and this is what I'm going to charge you for it. So it really isn't. It's a lot simpler than I thought, but because I didn't know what I didn't know,
yeah,
that's how I did it. So
yeah.
that's what my recommendation for somebody that is new, just don't set up anything. Don't pay thousands of dollars for anything like that. It just doesn't have
Talk
to.
talk to somebody who's already gone down that
Yeah.
path. Yeah, good advice. Araceli, I'm curious because you started off after your divorce with that first uh sounds like a triplex conversion or a
Mhm.
try that you did, and you were focused on cash flow. Then you went did your first couple of deals in Cleveland, and those were long-term rental properties that didn't quite work out. And then it sounds like you transitioned quickly into doing flips, which is
Yeah.
a very different beast, very, very active kind of
Yeah.
thing. And now you're switching over into more long-term buy and hold rentals. Tell us a little bit about the the whys behind those changes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the reason that I started with rentals is because that's exactly how it started. I understand, the cash flow and everything. But
yeah.
what happens is that when you have a rental property, you have money tied up in the property.
Yeah,
And
you're not cash flowing very much. You got a lot of cash.
exactly. And the thing is, at the time when I started, there wasn't any financing for Canadians. So even though my LLC belonged, it was an American LLC, but because it was owned by a Canadian, then you go back to the same rules. Like you have to apply, you have to make sure that, that you qualify.
Yeah,
So there was no financing. So I said, okay, so what can I do in order for me to continue to move this money around? Because I have only so much money
yeah,
to leave it all in the transaction. So that's how we switch. And the reason that I switch is when I got my partner, My partner wanted to get into flipping. He said, no, I don't want to have any rentals. He just, anytime that I had to deal with a tenant, it says, you go do it. I have no interest in being a landlord. So, we kind of compromised and I said, okay, fine, let's do the flips, right?
So
And
was your
because,
partner bringing most of the capital to the
no, we were
picture, or
50-50. Yeah, we were
50-50?
50-50.
So what was your partner doing?
Well, his role was more of looking the properties, just finding the deals.
Okay.
I was more into getting the contractors, make sure that they did the job. Uh,
So he's more on the deal finding, underwriting side of things. You were more on the
correct.
active. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Got it.
anytime that we had to deal with contractors,
That was
he just,
Araceli's
he
job.
just, it was you go, or you go, right?
Got
And
it.
I think that this is another thing as well that people need to look at. Like, what is your personality? What do you want to do? And what are you good at,
Yeah.
right? Um, I feel that I'm good at relating with people, talking to people, kind of making deals. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't want to talk to anybody. You do it, right?
Mhm.
I've had evicted tenants when we bought properties at auction that they were there in the house and he said, I don't want to even go knock on the door.
Got it.
But
So yeah. So
there's
yeah,
still,
your division of labor, and
yeah,
now that you're kind of, I think that partnership's
yeah, it's
no longer.
ended. Yeah.
So, so why are you switching from doing the flips to more back to the rentals, the long term hold
Well,
side?
I'm not really switching. I'm
Okay.
actually doing both,
Okay.
right? And so the reason is because now the market has changed. So the properties have appreciated quite a bit, and finding deals, it's a lot harder to have that big profit that we used to have. So
Hmm.
now I said, okay, let's put a little bit of that money that I've accumulated into some rentals, get some cash flow while I'm doing the flips, and then continue to do one or two depending on how things go, because at the end of the day, most of what attracts people to real estate is the cash flow. You want to have that money
That
coming in.
passive income, exactly.
Exactly. So you want to have that passive income, which is not really that passive. There's a lot of things that you
Yeah.
need to do in order to get it. But at the end of the day, you keep a property that is appreciating and then you're generating some money coming in to you. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing. I'm just complementing it right now, adjusting to the times.
And
And
the
at the same time,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense, Araceli. Hey, you know what? Thank you very much for sharing what you're up to as a Canadian investing in the States, and how you got into that. And I really appreciate your insight into the fact that it doesn't need to be as complicated or as expensive as a lot of us think it is
Yeah.
to start investing in the States. I really appreciate that. So I'm sure there's going to be some people listening or watching this who want to connect with you and find out more and maybe get help
Mhm.
investing themselves in the States. I think you help people out with that. So if people want more Araceli, where should they go?
Well, very easy. They go to aracelihernandez.com and there is a way for you to see what I'm doing and whatever attracts you to, then you can go and contact me. There's a way for you to book a time to meet with me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to talk to anybody that has some interest in going to the US. So
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Araceli. This has been great, and all the best with your continued success.
thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now, at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.